there, welcome to Frank's Tech Help. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Traxxas Slash 4x4 VXL. And on this vehicle I opted for the orange color, nice pretty orange as you can see there. It's not something I would normally go with, but hey, I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, go big orange, yeah, so that's not really why I did it, but anyway, I just wanted something different this time. This is my third addition to the Traxxas line on the 1/10 scale for me personally. I have the Rustler VXL 2-wheel drive, the Rustler VXL 4x4, and those are both great cars. It says it's fairly well indestructible, considering how much damage I've done to my Traxxas, my Rustler 4x4 VXL, as you've seen from some of my videos. So apparently this one's kind of built to take that kind of punishment, and I'll just go over some of the box features here real quick. We do have the extruded axle system. It does have the ball crank steering with the integrated servo saver, torque control slipper clutch, which you've probably seen videos of me taking this apart, and the Revo spec differentials, and from there you've got the SCT off-road tires. And this does include the Valenian 3500 motor along with the VXL 3S ESC system from Traxxas. Basic body design and everything. I like the side bumpers and everything as far as the design, how it pushes out for the body. But so like I said, this is my first experience with the Slash. I'm pretty excited about this unboxing. So you get the vehicle, you get the ESC, the TQI 2.4 gigahertz radio system, the extra pinion gear, manual, and some tools. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Pull it out of the garage there, yeah. Oh wow, look at these flashy, holy moly. I didn't realize it was going to be like fluorescent. Man, that's crazy looking. And it's big. I knew it was bigger than the Rustler in general as far as the body frame on a 4x4. Let me just step back out of the way there. Wow, look at the rims on this, man. You probably can't see them in this video, but man, these things are like neon. They glow, and so does this body. I don't know if it's doing much justice on this here or not, but now on the overall, from what I understand, this, and actually visually from what I see already, the underbody of this is about the same size, fairly close to the Rustler 4x4 VXL. Seems a little wider through here, and plus of course has the bumpers on the side. Now, as you probably know from my previous videos, I do have the Slash 4x4 bumper, rear and front bumpers on my Rustler 4x4 vehicle, just for added protection because I've smashed the little bumper up so quickly. So I'm pretty excited to get this. Alright, so this unit does come with the Traxxas 2.4 gigahertz TQI radio control system. It's pretty standard for a lot of the 1/10 scale Traxxas models, and it does have the link capability for your Android or iOS device. And in the bag here, as I mentioned before, I normally don't reference the manual very much on these vehicles. I just like to explore and figure stuff out for myself. But shock spacers, various adapters there. Toolkit, pretty standard for Traxxas units. And some body spacers and clips, and it kind of looks like a sanding or a buffing block right there, and the optional spur pinion gear for your high-speed pinion there. Stickers, quick start guide, TQI system manual, and the overall manual, which as usual should have a detailed list of parts on the inside of this. Yeah, there we go. So it gives all the breakdown for all the parts, which is really good. On Traxxas there. Some other things I typically look for now after using Traxxas for a little bit are first being battery access. Is it able to be accessed right there? Yep, you got a lot of clearance. You can take the battery out, change it, access the ESC from the other side there. Also, I like this. Kind of has the handles on the side, and you can grip it from back here if you need to pick it up, fling it around, do whatever. And another thing that I like, which I'll show you here real quick, is this. I love how this digs in. You see how the control arms and everything. I mean, this looks like it can really dig in, and it's got a good shock response onto it as far as the default goes. Alright, so I went ahead and put the vehicle up on my repair riser here just to give you guys a 360-degree view of the vehicle, and pop the top off here, and a couple of things I wanted to go over that kind of what I've discovered through the learning process from my Rustler 4x4 VXL. So first off, the battery compartment, it does come by default. It comes with the locking bar that accommodates the 25C batteries. If you do want to use a 50 or 75C battery, you will need to purchase the extension bar for that, and basically looks like that. See how it has a little extra riser, and then it has the tower that can be replaced on the back end as far as that goes. So you will need to take that into consideration. It's $5 or $6 online or at the hobby shop. And during my unboxing process, I mentioned this little block kind of piece right here. I wasn't quite sure what it was in the beginning, but now it makes sense. I'll zoom in here so you guys can see. It's actually just a little buffer. So if you want to put the extended battery in, you can take that out and stick that in there, and it helps give you the like a shock buffer as far as putting the larger size batteries in. So a couple of other things. So the shocks, you do have the heavy duty standard Traxxas factory shocks. This unit does have the metal turnbuckles as far as that goes, and the axles on the back are a little bit, these are more, remind me kind of the regular two-wheel drive VXL axles that came with my Rustler VXL, as opposed to the Rustler 4x4 VXL, which has heavy duty axles on the back. They're a lot thicker, a little more buff, as far beefy, whatever, as far as that goes. So these do look a little bit smaller, kind of like I said, more reminiscent of the standard Rustler VXL, being that it's just a rear-wheel drive. And the same thing on the front axles there. Try to get in a better view. You can see right through there. Those are not as beefy as I think they could be, but so we'll see how those hold out though, as far as as far as that goes. The ones on the Rustler 4x4, they lasted a little bit, but due to abuse and a lot of jumps and stuff like that, they ended up breaking. So and after doing upgrades on that vehicle, it's almost worth it just to stick with the factory axles. I had a lot of trouble out of the axles on the Rustler 4x4 VXL. Now originally I used some GPM axles on the two-wheel drive Rustler, and those are still going strong even after close to a year, as far as that goes. On the Rustler 4x4 VXL, however, I ended up pretty much ripping out the inner differential CVD universal joint, as I call it typically, and then on another one ripped out the spindle, the peg at the end where keeps the tire screwed into place, and upgraded to some cheapo axles. They ripped in like 5 minutes, which you'll see in my previous video, and then upgraded to some GPM axles, which also bit the dust. And so from there I installed some Integy V2 XHD, extra heavy duty axles, and so far so good. We'll see. But as far as the weight factor goes, I really kind of think, these axles are fairly durable, but if you do anything as far as upgrades, at minimum I would probably put in the Traxxas heavy duty axles for that. So let's see, other than the battery, the shocks all look pretty good. The shock towers are, look really kind of beefed up, nice hard plastic. The body clip covers right here, 2 screws, pops off. You can replace those very easily. A couple other things I'll point out. And I keep referencing the Rustler 4x4 VXL because I ended up going with the Rustler 2-wheel drive, then the Rustler 4x4, and now the Slash 4x4 VXL. So these are just things, little tips that I've learned, through the process of owning those vehicles. The wires do, in this scenario, touch the motor right here, and I kind of don't care for that. Granted, the housing, the wire covers are pretty heavy duty, but with extended use and wear and heat on that motor, I just don't like the fact that they kind of touch there. So on my Rustler 4x4 VXL, I drilled a tiny hole and then put a zip tie through and then pull these wires back so that they're not actually touching the motor, and it worked out really well. Another thing I'd probably do is zip tie these a little bit just to keep them contained and out of the way. I do not have the ESC fan or anything installed yet, but there is a power connector for that as well. And something else that jumps out at me is that the steering servo up here, this wire is fairly well exposed. So if you've got the cover on, whatever, you probably don't have to worry about that too much. But once again, for me, I'll end up drilling a tiny hole right here and putting a zip tie through it to keep that locked down into place, just to reduce the amount of abuse or take potential for ripping that wire out completely as far as that goes. So yeah, so this is a super nice design. I keep saying that. I really like it a lot. I can't wait to abuse the crap out of this thing and then do the upgrades and everything, so stay tuned for that coming up in the future. Alright, so just as a comparison, we've got the Traxxas Rustler 4x4 VXL, which I've dubbed Mad Max just because of all the upgrades I've done. The body is pretty much destroyed, but man, it's still hanging in there fairly well, even though it's pretty much ripped all to shreds. It's still staying on. It's good. So we'll pop the top off of these two here real quick and do a couple of comparisons under the hood here. So as you can see, the Slash 4x4 VXL is definitely not as wide, and you can almost see right here on the inside that's pretty close to the same width as far as the inside of the wheelbase. Of course, the Rustler 4x4 VXL tires are, those Talon tires are a little bit wider, obviously. And then as far as the length of the overall wheelbase goes, stack this up here, you'll be able to see that the Slash 4x4 is a tad bit longer. I'd say overall probably an inch or so as far as that. I found this kind of interesting. So the bottom of the Rustler 4x4 VXL, pretty straight all the way down the line, as you can see as far as that goes. And then on the Slash 4x4 VXL, completely different. Let me get this at a kind of a side angle so you can see how this design is. So everything's kind of lowered until you get to the center of the body, and then it raises up as far as that. Now this does give you good ground clearance versus the Rustler 4x4 VXL there. Alright, so I guess the only thing left to do is to put a battery in here, and let's go out and take it for a test drive. So immediately the battery fell out. Alright guys, so here we are, we're back inside after the first official driving session, bash session with this vehicle. As you saw in the video, the battery flew out, actually lost the pin, lost a body pin, so I came back in during the session and put some string on the pins and taped them down like I do with all my vehicles. Like I said, the battery just flew out. It did a flip and landed, and it's like the whole thing just started falling apart for a second, but I got it taken care of. If I have any type of complaint for this vehicle right out of the box, is that it's loud. Now, it does come with the body spacer, so you can take up some of that slack just a little bit, but if you listen, you probably heard it in the video. This thing is just loud. Driving it through the backyard, you probably, like I said, you can hear it in the video. And so I do need to put the body spacers in there to take up a little bit of that slack. But there were a couple of times where the vehicle grounded out and it's rubbing against the plastic and it's like meow. So you probably hear that in the video as well. So when this thing slams, like you can see right there on the front tire, it will grind as far as that goes. So pop the cover off here real quick and show you on the inside. It's fairly well dirty now at this point. You got a lot of rocks and debris in there, so yeah, that's filthy. You see all the dirt and gunk built up in there, so yeah, that's the way we like it though. One thing that I noticed right away is that the centerline drive shaft coming down the middle here does have that plastic cover over the top, and despite the fact that it has that, there is debris. I'm not sure if you can see that this angle. There is debris inside of there, and it's coming in through this little stuff's falling out, coming in through this little spot right here where the drive shaft comes out. And so I probably will have to take this off periodically to clean out the drive shaft casing there, but doesn't look like it's being hindered in any form or fashion at this point. So everything held out pretty well. I did almost lose one of the base shock security spring things, the brackets there, which has happened to my VXL Rustler, my Rustler 4x4 VXL, and almost on this one. That's usually the first thing that ends up going. And as you saw, jumping it, it actually gets some pretty good air compared to my Rustler 4x4 VXL. And I gotta tell you, granted, I know everybody raves about this vehicle, and don't get me wrong, this thing's bad. It's badass, but man, there's something to be said for the Rustler 4x4 VXL. Now, I know this is on short course, dirt tracks, stuff like that. Driving this is going to be a lot of fun, as you saw, tearing up the gravel and stuff like that. So I got to get into it just a little bit more. And to be honest with you, when I first got my Rustler 4x4 VXL, I was kind of hesitant because I was like, I don't know about this thing. It is fun, but man, push it to the limit. That is where the real fun comes in. And somebody made a comment, what are you trying to break it the first day? Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. You break it, you fix it. It's called a hobby. So thankfully, nothing really broke on the first round here as far as that goes. I did have some wobbling in the tires. Straight out of the box before I'd even driven it, hooked up the battery, and it was wobbling already. So we'll see how it turns out in the end as far as this vehicle goes. Alright guys, there you have it. It's my unboxing, review, and road test of the Traxxas Slash 4x4 VXL. As always, I hope this video helps you guys out. And be sure to subscribe to my channel for upcoming prize giveaways. And as always, thanks for watching Frank's Tech Help. Peace.